I want you to think about this. How many times have you felt stuck, unmotivated, or unwilling to move on something, right? Maybe you have future business plans. Maybe you want to go down a certain career path, but you never actually get to doing any of it. Well, that oftentimes most people associate it with being lazy or being unmotivated or not working hard enough, when in reality it's almost neither or any of those. The best way to describe what you're feeling is called thought paralysis, or it's the ability to have many different ideas circulate through your mind at the same time, but you are indecisive on picking one and sticking to it, because consistency beats a perfect idea every single time. So today I'm going to teach you a 5-step method that can help you get out of this indecisive thought paralysis and have you being able to think and act on your thoughts without any issues. So without further ado, let's begin. The first step that you're going to want to embark upon is to identify a problem. What just happened? I'm very confused. I'm sorry about that, guys. Psychopaths, man. I don't get it. But anyway, so the first step you're going to want to do is to identify your problem, right? And that oftentimes takes a little bit of internal work, whether it be sitting down, meditating, writing about it, or even just staring at a wall. You have to do something that allows you to get in your own head and start thinking about these ideas, right? Because while oftentimes your mind runs through ideas through the day, that's usually because you don't have a specific time slot, which I'll get into in a minute, to assess your problems and let your ideas run through your mind. So the first step that you're going to want to do is identify that problem. Whichever means you have, whenever you find that problem and you think about it and you realize, okay, this is what my issue is, then you can move on to the next step. The next step is to set a plan to figure it out, right? And the plan starts first in here, in your mind. So you're going to have to shift your perspective. And a lot of times what this means is instead of people thinking about, oh, I can't do this because I have this other priority, or I can't do this because of this other thought, right? That's where indecisive paralysis comes from. It's a prioritization of these thoughts colliding with each other. So if you're thinking about, maybe you have to wash your car, but at the same time you also think about mowing the lawn, they're going to fight each other because they're both equally as important, but you only have time to do one of them, right? But it's the worst case scenario is when you start thinking about both of them and then you don't make any action at all. That's the worst case scenario. So what you have to do is you have to shift your perspective from thinking about both thoughts to thinking about one. And in addition to that, right, you have to also think about how you believe in yourself, right? Because going from I can't do it to I can do it, I just need to figure out how, that perspective change will open up all the opportunity you have to solve whatever issue you're going through. So with finding out that problem and now shifting our perspective, we need to now build in a daily habit to solve said problem and then build momentum upon that, right? So the best way to describe this is, let's say in this case you have to mow your lawn, right? Or wash your car. Well, you can only do one of them at a time, but you have to think about the consequences of each, just for a moment. For the lawn, if you don't mow it, it gets growing grass, you get weird animals and ticks and stuff in your lawn, you can't see anything, and that might cause harm to you or your kids, or your future kids, or whoever you're living with, maybe just you, right? When you wash your car, the only consequence of not washing your car is it getting dirty, maybe it starts developing rust, stuff like that. So both of them are pretty important, right? But now we have to think about this. Mowing your lawn takes about, let's say, an hour and a half, depending on how big your lawn is. Maybe even less if you have a shorter lawn. Washing your car takes 20 minutes, right? You walk to the car thing, you either manually wash or automatic, whatever. So with that in mind, mowing your lawn has a much greater consequence than washing your car does in the short term, but in the long term, it's the other way around. So now that we have that out of the way, we can decide, okay, I need to decide a time to mow my lawn today and a time to wash my car maybe tomorrow, right? Setting these timelines will allow you to not only do that action without having thought paralysis, but it'll also allow you to do it on a repetitive basis, so you don't have to deal with the fact of, oh, am I going to do this or am I going to do that? You already know what you're going to do because you planned it out ahead of time. It gives you so much extra time in your day to go do the other things that you want to do. So instead of sitting there and debating yourself constantly, you can actually get something done, and then you have a bunch of free time to do whatever you want. It's great. It's a win-win for both me and you, and, well, your future. The next step is, now remember when I mentioned the positive beliefs earlier? This next step is actually about controlling your self-talk, right? Controlling your self-talk is the ability to get into your mind and refute things that you don't want to be said, right? So when I started making YouTube videos, my first belief was, oh, there's no way I could do this. I had X, Y, and Z reason, right? But instead of thinking about that, I started thinking about how would I be able to provide content for my viewers. That is where answers started to come up and say, oh, well, maybe if you record a video about this, maybe they'll like this. Maybe you record a video about this, they might like that too. Maybe you update your thumbnails and your descriptions. Maybe that'll get out to more people, they'll see your videos. Those small things are what builds you up this momentum that you can continue on in your life. So then you can move it outside of simple tasks like mowing the lawn and move into more important tasks like a career change, right? You can start to automate a lot of these processes so that way they don't take as much brain capacity, and you can put more of your knowledge and mental effort towards other things that you can do, right? And the fifth and final one would be to create a roadmap for all of this, right? Because at the end of the day, we want to be able to automate and habitualize these processes so we don't have to waste time in the future about debating on what actions we have to do, and rather focus on the action itself, right? So instead of me focusing on, oh, when am I going to mow my lawn, I can focus in that moment on, oh, how can I mow my lawn nicer, right? Or something like that. It allows you to ask yourself the better questions instead of just the questions. You know what I mean? It's a level up that gets you ahead of other people in life, right? And ultimately, that's what a lot of people want, but at the same time, they like to see improvements within themselves, which is why I'm here. I teach people how to improve themselves. But anyway, so how do we create this roadmap, right? Well, I already gave you 4 steps in how to start this roadmap, but now to create it, what you have to do is you have to sit down and invest a lot of time and knowledge on the front, right? Think about it like buying a house. When you want to buy a house, you put a lot of effort into it at the front end. You want to make sure it has this feature. You want to make sure it has an open kitchen with an island. You want to make sure it has a private bathroom for you and your, whatever, significant other. Thinking about those details is what gets you into the situations where you can now think about, okay, I've got all these in the way, or out of the way, sorry. Now I'm going to think about what type of living room do I want, right? What kind of couch am I going to replace this with? Because, maybe the old couch is old and musty, Stuff like that, when you habitualize it, like I've said many times already, and when you process it, it stops your thought paralysis and it stops you from overthinking about what you could possibly do in your life. And instead, you start thinking about solutions to your own problems. That way you don't suffer in the future. Now, with that being said, you do not have to overhaul your life overnight. You can do this over many, many months and years, which is what most people do. But to get the idea in your head is what allows you to change. And what allows you to change is the ability to take that action towards your future self. So I hope that helps with people who have often suffered with thought paralysis and are indecisive. And if it did, please drop the like and subscribe and do stuff like that. So that way it promotes the video, helps more people see it. They can also solve their own issues as well. With that being said, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.